This is Access 2019, Module 4, Part 1. In this segment, we're going to be creating a form using the FormWizard. Then we are going to modify that form, navigate it, and maintain data using the form. So let's get back into our Lakewood database that we created in Modules 1 and 2 and used in Module 3. Since we're working with a wizard, we are going to start by going to Create. Now, one thing that might make things easier is if you start by clicking on the table that you want to use or the query that you want to use in the wizard. You will recall that FormWizard can use tables or queries to create the form. Now, if we click on the patient table, when we click the FormWizard, patient table will default in as the chosen table. It's not that big of a deal because if it's not selected, you can simply click the drop-down arrow and choose the one you want. Next, you have to insert the fields. So we've seen these types of arrows before. You want to remember that there's not a way to move them up or down once they're selected. So in order to move them, you have to remove them and reinsert them in the correct place. So we'll go over that. So we're going to insert all of our fields. If we want the phone number to be down by the email, we're going to remove phone, click on email, and then reinsert it, and it will put it below that. So if you want to move a field, it's easier to do it that way. If you struggle with that, simply insert them one at a time and get them in the order that you want them. Once you have the fields in the proper order, you can choose Next. You can see we get several layouts to choose from. These visuals really don't help me tremendously, but what I tend to do is create more than one layout of a form and then see which one I like best and delete the other ones if I'm doing this, outside of the class. Once you've selected columnar, we'll go ahead and say Next. We're going to call this form Patient Data. So we'll add the word data at the end of the name and choose Finish. So as I stated earlier, it's helpful to know which form view you are in so that you don't lose points by clicking on the View button when it's not needed. I'll explain that in a minute, but I want to go over the different views so you can get an idea of how you can tell. We are currently in Form View. The way you can tell is that the data is actually what is highlighted, not objects on the screen. There are no tabs on your ribbon for modifying the look of your form. Also, down here at the bottom are these view buttons. One of them is highlighted, showing you which view you're in, and you can hover over these to see the different views. So if you can remember, this first one is Form View. Form View is the view that you have to be in to change any data in your form. So if you actually want to edit or add records or edit any of the records or the data itself, you must be in Form View to do that. Now if we switch to Layout View, Layout View looks very similar to Form View with the exception that the object is what is highlighted, not the actual data. You also have tabs on your ribbon that will allow you to change the look of the form. And again, you can see which button is highlighted down here as well. And design view looks very different. Design view is another view that can be used to change the look of your form. And again, you do have additional tabs on your ribbon for working in design view. And you can see the different button is now highlighted at the bottom. The reason this is important is, let's say that you were in layout view on your question in a SAM exam. And the exam said, in layout view, I want you to make the following changes. And you click on the view button to go to the layout view, but you're already there. It's going to mark it wrong. And you're going to lose one of your attempts simply by clicking on the view button. So it sometimes is helpful to be able to recognize the view that you're in so that you don't waste those attempts. I know if it were me, I would not want to miss out on any of the attempts on the exam. Right, so we're going to switch to the layout view if you're not already there, so that we can make some adjustments and changes to our database. So the first thing we're going to look at are the themes. Okay, so you'll notice we have themes. We've already talked about themes in other software, such as Excel, and talked about the fact that Microsoft developed these groupings of fonts and colors and has them designed to allow us to change the look of our forms and reports and our products to different groupings. And you can see if you hover over them, you do get a live preview. If you do a regular click on Slice, it will become the default for your entire database, and all objects will be changed to that. But if you do a right click on a theme, so right click on Slice, you will see that you can apply it to this object only. So make sure you read the directions careful. If you are asked to apply it to this object only, you need to make sure you do the right click and apply to this object only. The next thing we're going to look at is adding a logo or a picture. So if I go to the logo button in the header and footer group, I need to locate my file. So it's called Support Access 4 medical.png. Yours is probably under Access1 module folder. I have located mine in a slightly different place to work with these videos. Once you locate the file, you click on it and say OK, and you'll notice it brings in the picture into your form. But if you see the dotted lines, these dotted lines are telling you that it's all being combined in the control layout. The title and the picture are combined. So if we want to remove that, we're going to right click on the picture. We're going to go to Layout, and we're going to remove the layout. Now each item can be selected individually. So I can click on the picture, and if I want to move it to the right of the title, I can scoot it over there. I can also enlarge it. When you're enlarging pictures, it's best to grab a corner so you don't distort the height and width ratios and distort the picture. But you can see even if I enlarge it more, it just increases the size of my header. Now I can also change the title, the way the title looks. So I am going to start out by actually changing the data. So I'm going to click on the title, and then I'm going to click again in between the T and the D so that I can begin typing. And I'm going to add a space. Now it went to 2 rows. If I don't want it to do that, I can enlarge the box a little to make it go back to 1. When you're done typing, just click away from it. Then we can click back on it and we can highlight that data. And I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to go to the format. Notice there's a font color. I can change that to say I want black text, 1 lighter 25%. And I can move down there and change that. I could also, if I wanted to, I could add the character effects that you see. So if I wanted to make it bold, I could do that. When you're done, just click away from it. So let's go ahead and save the form. We're saving the changes that we made. Remember that the wizard actually saved the form for us the first time, but we need to save any changes we make. All right, so now let's take a look at navigating with the form. So let's switch. Let me go back to the Home tab, and I'm going to switch back to Form View. So you'll notice you have the navigational arrows that we've already talked about that allow you to move between records. The thing that you want to make sure you pay attention to is if you are editing the data, you need to still watch that pencil. Okay, because you will still see the pencil over here on the side of the form. And until the pencil goes away, you have not saved your changes. Let's take a look real quick at the find. So notice right now the find is looking at the current field, patient ID, and that's the only field that it's going to look at. So if I wanted to find someone's name, I need to change this from saying current field to current document. So it will look at all fields. I'm going to type in the word Boyles, B-O-Y-L-E-S. If you match case, if you check that box, you have to uppercase it if it has an uppercase B, or it will not find it. If you look here, you have the whole option. You can say if Boyles is any part of the field. So we'll change that to any part. You also can say if it starts with Boyles. And then we click Find Next. And now you see, well, it wasn't their name, it was their address. So if we're looking for someone who lived on that street. You can also use wildcards in your searches, and the book talks about how you use those. So let's say we're going to change some information. So we are going to search for SALINAS and find next. And you see a last name of Salinas, and it has information on there that they are on 12/16/68. Should be record 30. Their address has changed. So we're going to come in here on the address field and just type over it. We're going to type 17 Windmere, WINDMERE, and they moved from Smyrna to Marietta. Down in Georgia, they pronounce that Marietta. Marietta, but they pronounce it Marietta. I used to live in Marietta many years ago. And the zip code, they are changing it to 67. So notice as we're making these changes, we get the pencil. If you do not tab through and go to the next record so that that pencil disappears, your changes have not been saved. So make sure that pencil disappears and it is saved. If we wanted to add a new record, we're going to close our Find and Replace. We're going to come down here to this arrow with the starburst that says New Blank Record. When we click on that, it brings us to an empty screen that we can then type in a new record. We will type in 13313. Carlson, KARLSSON, Elsa. Date of birth is 6/17/85. Address is 832 Winding Ridge Road in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and it's 30088. Which one too many eights? And it's going to be e.carlson2@example.com. The phone number is 770-555-0125. Notice the pencil is all here. But once we tab to that new record, now our record has been saved. So you can see your forms are primarily designed for viewing and modifying, entering data on the screen. However, you can print them as well. So we're going to go to the first record. We're going to say File, and we're going to say Print, and then we're going to say Print Preview. You can see how it would print. You can navigate between pages using the arrows. With zooming, you can zoom to different levels. I kind of like to fit to the window like it is right now, so you can see the whole page in one window. If we close the print preview, we go back and say File, Print again, excuse me, and we go to the print, you get different options here. If you click on selected records, it's only going to print the record that is displayed. So if you just wanted to print one record, you could do that. Remember, on campus, you always have the option to print to PDFs. So if you want to print something to a PDF, it will create that PDF for you, and that way you could take it home if it's something you wanted to look at on campus without using printing allotments. I'm going to save any changes that we made and go ahead and close this form.